Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for that epic market update. Absolutely legendary. So, guys, Bill just talked about how, and the word that I keep finding myself use is precarious, right? That's what this market is to me, right? And Bill just talked about the potential, and yesterday talked about the potential where October could be a bad month for crypto. It could be a bad month for all markets, and we could potentially see a black swan event. Now, does that mean what he's saying with 100% certainty everything's going to crash? No, of course not. But what does that mean? That means that we need to be responsible and hedge our bets and literally hedge, right? So for me, I can't speak for anybody else because your strategy may be different than my strategy. And of course, nothing here is financial advice. But for me, this means that I'm looking to get about 20, 30, maybe 35% out of the market and into stable coins in the near future. Now, I do have a high risk threshold, fairly young. It allows me to take more risks. So right now, my altcoin allocation is around my standard 10%. Now, with Bill talking about the potential for equities to crash the market, uh, I'm wanting to get that up to 20, 30, maybe even 35%. Now, when would I do that? Well, because we're on support, and usually I like to buy on a trend line. And this is this trend line here, right? That I'm just putting an X through. This is a long-term trend line that dates all the way back to 2017. So I'm being a little bit patient. I already have 10% in stable coins, and I'd like to hopefully see a move up into this bullish territory, right? I've carved out three territories here, this bullish territory to start taking some profits along the way. And obviously, a lot of my cryptocurrency portfolio is in altcoins, but we're using Bitcoin as a proxy for the market because when Bitcoin goes up, usually the rest of the market goes up, and vice versa. When Bitcoin goes down, usually crashes the rest of the market as well. So I'm going to be looking for some opportunities, especially if we get to this key resistance here between 58.5 thousand and 60,000, to really start taking some profits, right? What we don't want to see is a double top here that ends up resulting in a crash further down. And I'd say we don't want to see it. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because we know about this resistance and we can take profits here. So the word that I'm using to describe this market is precarious because Bitcoin and a lot of other cryptocurrencies and equities are resting on their 21-day moving averages. And I've got both the 20 or not 21 day, 21 week moving averages. Sorry. I've got the 21 week and 21-day simple moving average and EMA, exponential moving averages, both on here in green and purple. Purple's the EMA. EMA just means it's exponential moving average. That means it weights the more recent data a little bit heavier. So it moves a little bit faster when the more recent data is volatile. So what we're seeing is a lot of mixed signals. For one, we're getting support on top of this trend line. We also got support on top of the downtrend line, right, from our all-time high. We're also getting support on top of the 21-week simple moving average, this green line in there, but we've broken down below the 21-week EMA, the purple line here. So we're getting some mixed signals, and Bitcoin's in a really precarious spot because it's on and around so much support. It's really got to make a decision of whether we're going to go back up higher and into this bullish territory where I would really like to take profits, or down into this neutral territory where we could see some chopping and some bouncing at around $37.5 thousand. That's a big support level that if we breach, I actually become pretty bearish and think that we could see Bitcoin take another trip down to this 30K range, right? And if we break this 28.5 to $32.4 thousand range, that's really, really scary. And we could, potentially see a break further down to maybe even 20K. But the reason this 32.5, 32.4 to be exact, level is so important is it's our 2x short level. And you can see this was what was ultimately tested by many, many wicks, both in January of 2021 and in the consolidation after this big liquidation event, this big crash from $64,000. And the reason it's such strong support is because as Bitcoin's price comes below this $32,400 level, that's the point at which you can no longer short it and have your liquidation point against the all-time high. So when Bitcoin's price drops below $32,400, that's the market saying we don't think that it's going to make an all-time high anytime soon, anytime in the foreseeable future. Now, obviously, we did dip below this level, and the market for periods of time was getting very doubtful. Yet bulls were able to swoop in and overcome this level and push the price back up. So that's a very, very important level to test. Now, from an application standpoint, so how do we apply or actually hedge? Well, I've told you I'm looking to take profits and get 20 to 30% in stablecoins. Now, for me, that's a lot. I'm very bullish macro crypto, so I don't like to put a ton. I don't like to put 50, 60, 70% in stablecoins. You may be comfortable with those levels. For me, it's 20 to 30% is a lot. Now, what do we do with that 20 to 30%? Well, we see flash crashes all the time. And if you're not at your computer 24/7, it's really important to get some buy orders in on cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum being the largest of the two and somewhat of the easiest to predict in terms of very strong support levels. Right. So I'm sitting here, right? This dip initially, if you haven't bought it yet and you have a ton of stable coins on hand, might be a good time to eke in 2, 3, 4, 5% of those stable coins, right? Now, if you have less stable coins on hand, maybe it's time to look for some buy orders around this level for Bitcoin, right? Or the corresponding levels for altcoins, 37.5, looking for altcoin deals as Bitcoin comes down to touch 37.5 if we go this low and we break into this level. Why? Because we'd expect some sort of a bounce here. This is a level that we could absolutely see some positive price action from. We could see a bounce and a reversal back up, right? Then again, in this range here. So back in January and back in June, this was the level, the opportune best buying zone that there was. And there is a chance that if we come down yet again to this 28.5 to $32,400 range, that the bulls could yet again show up and push us higher, right? And I can tell you right now that if Bitcoin comes down to test this level again, altcoins are going to become very, very cheap. They're going to be very, very inexpensive. Now, I briefly want to touch on two other things. One is just showing you guys that Ethereum, again, on finding support on its 21-week moving average and 21-week EMA. It's at a decision point, right? And I don't jump into the legacy markets very often, but S&P 500 taking a trip down to its 21-week EMA and 21-week simple moving average for the first time in quite a while. Now, I will say the last few times that it's done this, it's actually been a really good buy, right? Until you go back to a black swan event, in which case it crashed right through and the buy the dip was all the way at the bottom, right? And that crashed all markets. The other thing I want to touch on, because we're getting to that time of year, we're in Q4, or we're getting to Q4 very, very soon. And this is no secret. If you guys watch Into the Cryptoverse with Ben Cohen, you've probably known this for quite some time because he talks about it. So I in no way, shape, or form want to take credit for somebody else's analysis, but this is also no secret. In Q4, Ethereum against Bitcoin. This is ETH versus Bitcoin. It bleeds in Q4 against Bitcoin. It's done so for the last 6 years or so, right? So each one of these are Q1 of the year. Each one of these sets of dashed lines, I've outlined Q1 of the corresponding year. Now you can see that going into Q1, Q4, Ethereum loves to bleed against Bitcoin. Now, I love Ethereum. I am very bullish on Ethereum. Very bullish on Ethereum. However, we're getting to a point where in the cyclical nature of the year, that historically we've seen Ethereum bleed against Bitcoin. So what does that mean? Well, for some people, you may want to hedge your bets and maybe move out of Ethereum and into some altcoins, or out of Ethereum and into Bitcoin, right? I look at this as an opportunity because I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum in the long term as a time to look for Ethereum buys, right? Look for Ethereum buys and Oops. I'm getting hung up here. Let me refresh this. Right. I'm personally looking for buys on Ethereum, Bitcoin at these levels, right? Because I know that there's a really good chance that going into Q4 of this year, we're going to start seeing some discounts, and we're going to start seeing it potentially challenge again. Ethereum, Bitcoin, again, 21-week moving average. We're resting on support. However, knowing that historically it likes to bleed into Q4 and then pump in Q1, right? Look at all these Q1 pumps, especially in January, over and over and over and over again. We see these Q1 big pumps, Ethereum against Bitcoin. I'm looking at Q4 as an opportunity to DCA into more Ethereum as the price drops, knowing that there's a really strong chance that we see a Q1 pump of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, all of that depends on the market. And if we see a black swan event, of course, this could all be thrown off. But as long as we hedge, right, we take those 20 to 30% stable coins and start putting those buy orders in low, we should be fine in order to treat the market like normal otherwise. So we hedge, and then we're able to kind of go business as usual, knowing that if a black swan event occurs, we're properly hedged, whether that's buying a put option or just putting orders in low or entering a short to tail hedge. There's many ways we can actually hedge, but hedge, and then you can go about your business as usual without losing sleep at night.
Token Metrics is a cryptocurrency investment platform that helps users leverage machine learning to become better crypto investors. Our in-depth analysis helps eliminate the emotions of investing, find profitable investment opportunities, and filters out scams. Learn more at tokenmetrics.com.